Mic'd up.
Highlights from Lowlifes.
Pretty professional program with our own theme song.
Highlights from Lowlifes.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Highlights from Lowlifes. Today we have a special guest with us, Tom Lohr. We're going to interview him about his book called Gone to the Dogs in Search of the Best Ballpark Hot Dog. So thanks for joining us, Tom.
My pleasure.
We've got Rob Lannerman and Marty Brown as well. You're watching, I think this is episode 76.
Wow.
So the Lowlifes, again, a group of ball players in the San Francisco Bay Area who got together during the pandemic on Zoom calls to make sure everybody was okay and their mental health was handled. And those evolved into top 5 listing shows. So we had homework for our Zoom calls. We met the folks that mic'd up and they thought it would be a good idea and they were terribly wrong. So here we are.
You scrape at the bottom of the barrel with your guests.
That's Tom.
no.
You are our
no.
you're our second guest ever. And
Okay.
before we start, we want to tell everybody they can buy Tom's book on Amazon.com. I'm going to read you the quick synopsis. It says there are 30 Major League Baseball parks. Each offers concessions, and the one item most associated with baseball, the hot dog. But out of all of those teams, who has the best ballpark hot dog? Follow the author as he drives 20,000 miles on a budget and eats a dog at every MLB ballpark. Using a unique grading system, it considers other factors other than taste. There are specific components to eating a hot dog at a ballpark a memorable experience. See which stadium comes out on top. All right. So Marty has read the book, right, Marty?
Oh, yes. Yes. And it's not only
and that's the first hot dog. Yeah, okay. and
Rob,
it's not Oakland. Oh, okay. Good. It's a good thing. And Rob, I had shared some potential questions with Rob, and he says, I have my own. I don't need any of your help. So, Tom, I have no idea what he's going to ask you. So this is going to be interesting. Okay. So give us, I've just given the folks a synopsis. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book?
The book came from an idea. I was back before I abandoned all my social media, and I had a Facebook page. I always liked going to the ballpark, so I would go on little baseball road trips, and I'd eat a hot dog and always take a picture of it. People got and asked me who's got the best hot dog. I thought, I don't know, and I always had it in my head I wanted to visit all 30 Major League ballparks in a summer, and so I thought, you know what, I could kill 2 birds with one stone. I could visit all the ballparks and come out and have a grading system and find out who actually has the actual best hot dog. And it's not just the baseball best hot dog, it's the whole baseball hot dog experience. So there's 2 factors, the dog and the ballpark, to go into it.
Okay. And this trip, what year was this trip?
Oh gee, 2017, I think.
Okay. Yeah, some people were asking which ballparks are involved. So it's all the active parks of 2017. All right.
Yeah, the only 2 new ballparks that have recently been added since I did that trip was the one in Atlanta, which I have since visited, and the one in Arlington, which I have not visited.
Okay, got it. All right.
Now,
so Marty,
yeah.
you have read the book,
right?
And you have some questions for Tom. Huh?
Well, first of all, I want to thanks Tom. It was a fun read. Not only is he visiting the ballparks and having something to say about the hot dog and the stadiums, but his adventures of getting around and the people he runs into. And we've Tom, I'm not sure if Rob told you, it's been our pleasure to take some trips to different ballparks around the country. And this year we're going to go through Ohio. And the most memorable part, just hanging out with your guys, is that the people you meet along the way. And we've met some great people. But also there are 5 aspects of the hot dog, and I'll let you go through the first 3, but I want to talk about number 4 that hit home with me.
All right. Well, there's the bun
Right.
and the actual frank itself,
Uh-huh.
and I think was it the condiments? I don't
The
have my book in front
toppings,
of me.
which yeah, it's a
Toppings,
very
yeah,
important.
It is
And
very
the,
important.
and the one thing he talked about at 4 was portability. And you look at what portability? But think about it. How often have you gotten a hot dog on a slim piece of paper and then want to put your stuff on it, whether it be relish or onions and it's dropping over here or it's flying over there, and by the time you get it to your seat, it's already up your arm, or you're sitting down, you spilled some on your girlfriend's lap already, and it has to affect the way you enjoy the hot dog.
It absolutely
And I thought
does.
that was ingenious, but you brought that up.
It is. I can't. I've had too many accidents not to include that. And worse than getting it on your girlfriend's getting it on the fan next to you who's wearing like $100 MLB authentic jersey.
Oh yeah, yeah. That mustard is not coming out.
and
Cool.
So, and then
ahead,
speaking
Marty.
of it, there was one portion you made up, and I made a note about it because I want to specifically ask you about it. Because we're gonna. It was in Cleveland, and you were mentioning that the hot dog in Cleveland, and we're gonna find. And I'm looking forward to finding out about Burtman's mustard.
Oh, I talked to old man Burton. So.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you were saying that in the book because there's French's mustard and all this stuff, and I love mustard with some real flavor to it. Right. He makes a point getting to Cleveland and taking a whole page and a half about Burtman's mustard. It's only there in Ohio, and yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that'll be fun.
So I've never heard of this brand. So it's only available in Ohio. What makes it unique?
It's got a very unique taste and color. Years ago, there was a plan to just get it out of the ballpark and replace it with some generic mustard, and the fans revolted, and they ended up keeping it. So it's sort of hooked at the hip with I guess Guardians now, Guardians baseball. But yeah, if you can't have a hot dog at that ballpark without putting Burtman's on it, and I think you can only get Burtman in the greater Cleveland area.
So the fans went out. Excellent. All right.
Yeah. And I think he ends his book. He talks to you were talking to the owner or the manager.
Right. And I did an interview. I was actually at the ballpark with the radio.
Yeah.
And so one of his employees said, "Hey, they were talking about you on the radio." As he got my number from the radio station, he called me up that next morning. Said, "Hey, I hear you're talking about my mustard." And I talked to him probably an hour about mustard. And I wanted to take a tour of his plant, but they only operate 3 days a week, and that wasn't one of the days. So I told him, I pick some up before I go, but I may be outside of Cleveland area. He goes, "Oh, tell you what, just give me your address. I'll have my girl send you some." So when I got home, there was this big 12-pack of Burtman's mustard at my door. All my friends got Burtman. I thought it was old man Burtman himself, but it was yeah, he's very, very generous and friendly guy, easy to talk to.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he's listening to this show.
Thanks, Mr. Burtman, for the mustard. It was
All right, Robbie, you got a question for Tom?
Yeah. First off, I noticed you were interviewed by Smithsonian Magazine, which really puts you out of our league. So thank you for being here. But I was wondering because I looked at 2 or 3 articles where you were interviewed, and I did not see anybody ask the question. So you're at Thanksgiving dinner with family or friends, and you're sitting around. Does anybody take issue with your ratings, or do they try to nudge you to change the score?
I had a Navy friend of mine who I was on a ship with years ago in San Diego, and he's from Cincinnati, and he was urging me to give Cincinnati a little leeway and boost the rates. Of course, I didn't do it because it was all for science,
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Integrity of science, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no one now. Some of the ballparks really. I tried to let the ballparks know I was coming, and some of the ballparks were really interested. Glad that I came. Milwaukee was one. They really, they're all about the sausages and everything. So
Yeah.
they gave me the royal treatment there. And some places they didn't care, but places like Houston, I met the head of their concessions, and I talked to a lot of the chefs. Uh, I talked to the guy that made that big dessert dog in Phoenix for the Diamondbacks. It's a dessert dog. It's like for the bun they have a Long John donut. They have a churro instead of a Frank, and they got whipped cream and chocolate
Oh God,
ice cream.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
It's probably 50,000 calories for one, but it was really good. I couldn't eat all of it because it's so sweet.
So
Yeah, I was
so
going to ask
based
if the
upon
go ahead.
yeah, Robbie, I want to follow up on that. So Tom, if you're interacting with the people that are making and serving the hot dogs,
Mhm.
is that not going to skew the results?
No, because it gives me a little more insight to, and the ones that really want to talk to you are the ones that have really good products. If they don't want to talk to you,
Uh-huh.
that's sort of a sign that they don't got much to offer. They're not really proud of their dogs. But I actually had one of the minor league owners say, "Hey, come to my ballpark. I want you to come and check out my ballpark and my hot dogs and whatnot." And so that was interesting. It'd be nice to be invited.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. Sorry I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
No, that's okay. I was going to ask about if the ballparks know if you're coming, and then my follow up to that question would have been, do they ever try to guide you to a specific stand rather than have you just randomly roam around and decide, okay, I'm going to this one here behind third base?
Um, no, because I actually did this trip twice. And the first time I did it was just for the run of the mill hot dog, your normal hot dog.
Right.
And second time I did it was for what's your most over the top wild hot dog. Um, so for the normal hot dog,
I
no,
got a couple of
but
those.
for the yeah, for the next time I did it, the next 2 years later, I think it was for the ones that were really crazy hot dogs, like with Fruit Loops on them or whatnot.
Right.
Oh.
I
There,
think it was
there was
flavored.
a couple of them that stood out. In Arlington, it was the broomstick, and you had
The
a picture of
boomstick, yeah.
the boomstick. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
had a picture of that, and it had its own carrying case. Talk
It's two
about
feet
back on the
long.
portability again. But
Yeah.
I mean, and the other one was in Phoenix. Is the D bat?
The D-bat, right.
Yeah.
The D-bat's sort of similar to the boomstick.
Okay. Yeah. It was again. This is their over the top large. Um, which of the two did you prefer? Because that was the two that stood out to me.
The boomstick, because it had chili, it has a Texas flair too. It's got chili on it and whatnot. And I actually got almost half of it down. It's made to feed 4 people. So and it was just me. And so I grabbed this woman who was there with her son. I said, "Hey, I just bought this. I can't eat all. You want to eat some with me?" So they ate about a third of it too, and I ate close to half of it. And I saw uh, two guys that had one each, and they claimed to have ate it all, and they did not look well.
So
That's
so
that's
Tom,
a 2 foot. It's a one contiguous frag. It's 2 feet long. So
Good
oh
God,
geez.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There's a picture of it in the book. It's like I said,
yeah,
it has its own carrying case. When you
yes,
yeah,
yes. It had good portability, and it needed that because anytime you put chili on a dog, you're asking for a mess.
Yeah. The poor maintenance guys, really.
Yeah.
so
Uh,
Tom, let me give you a quick break here. I want to give you some hot dog education here.
okay.
One of my cohorts is from Canada
Mhm.
and wants to talk about the Montreal Expos hot dogs, which of course you didn't get to sample. Let me
I
play that in for you.
I have a quick question and a factoid. The factoid is that the Montreal Expos no longer exist, but you can buy wieners in Canada called the Montreal Expos that are branded and use the logo. My question is do you know of any sports teams that are doing any collaborations or branding of their hot dogs so you can actually buy it in the market?
I know of one. Nolan Ryan Beef, which of course is in Texas. And I went to their office to talk to them, and they had a deal at the time with the Rangers and one of the, I think it was the Frisco Rough Riders,
Yeah.
or and also there's another one. It was called the Express, Austin. Maybe it's in Austin. It's Texas Express, but they all
Round
had
Rock.
Round Rock Express.
Yeah.
They all had deals with Nolan Ryan meats too. It's an all beef hot dog. It was pretty good actually. So, and you could buy them in the
So
store as well. But
yes.
it was another thing. It was very regional.
So my friend Danny, who just gave us this question, he showed us a picture. You can go into grocery stores today and buy Montreal Expos hot dogs.
Wow, I'd like to try those.
And when the team went out of business or moved in 2004 down to Washington, they had somebody claimed to have bought the final hot dog during a game, and they were able to sell it online for $2,600. I'm not sure I want to keep that hot dog around, but yeah,
It's probably still good, you know.
yeah, maybe, I don't know.
I've actually been to Olympic Stadium for a Montreal Expos game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A factoid about Canadian baseball: the Toronto Blue Jays, they eat more pizza per capita than any other baseball team.
Oh.
So
Hot dog's still number one, but it comes a close second as pizza.
good pizza at the Sky Dome, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Marty, you got another question for Tom?
Sure. And again, our trip is coming up in June. We talked about Cleveland, but we're gonna be in Cincinnati, and you gave Cincinnati a fair score, and said you enjoyed the ballpark, and really looking forward to that. But you mentioned and I had a pic, and again, this is one of the pictures in the book, is those Skyline chili dogs, and
Right.
two of them for one order. And that looks like it's right up my alley. I'm ready.
Yes. Skyline chili's a little thinner than most chilies, and it's locally made. And then they put that on top of the Frank, and then they just a real big pile of shredded cheese on top of that. And they are really good, I gotta say.
Oh, all right. I'm ready.
Yeah. Oh, it looks tremendous. And then our last trip, the last stop on the trip, we already talked about it. It would be marvelous if you could join us in Pittsburgh.
That'd be great.
But it gave Pittsburgh a great score, and I'm really looking forward to that ballpark because you see it on TV a lot, and it just looks like a great place. And again, in Tom's book, he makes a great point. He gets general. He's like us. He gets general admission tickets and just travels around. Takes 2 innings here, 2 innings here, 2 innings, which is the best way to watch a ball game, to take in the entire stadium. But it's funny. I'm looking forward to Pittsburgh just because what he's phrased 2 lines: best bun.
They do have the best bun. They still do.
Please elaborate on the best bun.
I believe it's Mancini's that provides the buns, but Pittsburgh has a huge Italian community, and there's numerous Italian bakers, and they provide the buns and they're just soft and just absolutely delicious. They absolutely do have the best bun. And actually, because their Frank, frankly, wasn't that great. I think they use Sugardale hot dogs, which I'm not a huge fan of. But they didn't have a whole lot of extra toppings and all that, but it was the buns that really made their dog good. And their ballpark is my favorite, even though I'm a little skewed because I live there. But I've talked to many people who've been to a lot of ballparks and many that's been to all of them, and about 80% of them say PNC is their favorite park.
Tom, I agree with you. And here we are. We live in the San Francisco Bay Area. We go out to the Giants ballpark, which is a beautiful place, but the corridors are too small. The footprint of PNC is excellent because the corridors are so wide. You never have to worry about running into anybody. So spacious. It's great.
Yeah, I go anywhere between 25 and 30 games a year there. So.
Excellent.
But they're so bad Starting a couple years ago, they started offering a monthly pass, and it started out at $25.
Oh,
Standing
wow.
room only ticket, which means you can sit anybody in the upper deck you want. But standing room only ticket, and it's you can get into every home game that month. I think it's up to $35 or $40 now, but hopefully they do it again this year. But
Damn, that's a great deal.
it is a great deal. It comes out to about $4 a game. Of course, I spend $50 at least in concessions, so they make out like a bandit on
Yeah,
that.
that's why they do it, and you're going to get your Pirates hat or your bobblehead, and you'll be all set. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, I want to know what it was like. You were traveling on a budget,
Mm-hmm.
and you were concerned about maybe hotel stays, so you were doing most of this out of your car.
Yeah, I was pretty much living on my car, living the homeless life. It was actually very liberating. I tried the couch surfing a couple nights, but wasn't real comfortable sleeping in other people's houses, so I decided to stay in my car. And most of the times, I would plan it so I could pull over at a rest stop along the interstate and sleep. But sometimes it was a Walmart parking lot, sometimes it was a truck stop, and every now and again I'd stay at a state park, mainly because they had showers I could use. And
Yeah,
yeah, and that truck stops also you could buy a shower there, but
and then laundry. Got to stop every once in a while and do some laundry.
oh, I never did my laundry.
That's what the Walmart is for.
There is no
I,
way that you had that many hot dogs and didn't spill a bunch of mustard and relish all over yourself.
Yeah, I went to laundromat, I don't know, probably once a week or so.
Uh-huh.
Because I had maybe 3 changes of clothes, maybe 4. I get a t-shirt here and there.
But if I could
So
interject, this is a smart
yeah,
man, and so tell me if I'm wrong. But this is, and maybe it'll come up later. There's a reason why I took so much close attention to it. Is that he's sleeping in his car,
Mhm.
but it's the Midwest, and it was in May and June,
Mhm.
and so you have to open up the window just to get some air in there.
Mhm.
But here come the bugs.
You're right.
And it was and Tom, please elaborate on your solution. I thought it was ingenious.
I got some screen material, the nylon, let you put like screen windows or screen doors, and cut them a little bit oversized in the windows. And I got those round magnets like you put them on your refrigerator, and just kind of magnet them around my window. So uh, you couldn't really do it with the door that you're getting into the vehicle with, because when you close the door, all the magnets would fall off. But you could have several windows open and no bugs were getting in.
Perfect.
wow.
Perfect.
The
Yeah,
Yugo
yeah.
is an amazing car.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, well, I'll bring it up anyway because what I like they said earlier before the show. It's like T minus 10 days before I retire,
Oh,
and one of my things I want to do is travel around, similar to you, but in the Pioneer League, which is
oh yeah,
the
yeah.
small minor leagues that in um, Idaho, Montana, North and South Carolina, Dakota, and again, you're budget conscious, and I thought that was a great idea. I'm not sure I'm going to be so rustic as to follow in your footsteps, but it was a great idea.
Well, last summer I went on an Appalachian League road trip. So
Oh, that would have been great.
I went to
Yeah.
the Appalachian League All-Star game, and the weather was just horrendous. I cut it short because it was raining all the time. It was planning on raining more, so maybe I'll do it again sometime.
But the funny part of his book is that I get 65, maybe even 70% of the stadiums that he highlights in the book were minor league ballparks. And we haven't gotten to it yet. Maybe we'll get to it now. But he did a nice run from LA up through the California League.
Yeah, I
Lake
love
Lake
the California.
Elsinore, Modesto, Stockton. He didn't care much for the food, but the Stockton's a nice ballpark, and
It is nice.
it's our trap. We go to Stockton. We go to the Stockton games a lot during the summertime, because we have a lot of friends there, and it is a great ballpark. But I really appreciated you taking the time to go through all those coming up north through the California League. That was fun.
I like the Visalia Rawhides ballpark at the really old ballpark,
Yes.
and I like the one the San Jose Giants.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Gigante, that old WPA built ballpark was awesome. You mentioned Lake Elsinore, and they have the honor of having the worst hot dog I had the entire year.
That's for me.
So
we have
so
the worst and we have the best. So there you go.
how
Out
did
of the
how
list.
did you get the worst? I mean, what qualities created it as the worst? Was it still
Uh,
frozen or?
but not well. I almost chipped a tooth on the bun. That was one of them.
Oh wow.
Uh, and I don't know what brand of hot dog they used, but it was not good. And they had like mustard and ketchup. I don't think they had any other condiments. It was just an all around terrible experience hot
It's probably a day old 7-Eleven.
dog.
Yeah, yeah.
And Tom's scale is, like I said, not 30 points is the maximum for the hot dog and on 5 different categories. And then the ballpark is under 5 different categories too, and that also happens to be 30 points. So a perfect score would be 60. And I wrote down the scores for the California League. It said Lake Elsinore was at 37. So not I guess he gave it 30 points just because there was a baseball game going on.
Well,
But
ballpark
other
was
than
nice.
that,
I caught a foul
probably
ball there
not.
too, so that was nice.
Oh yeah.
That's a big
Ballpark's
deal.
beautiful. Yeah.
But
So on that theme, as Marty just pointed out, your grading scale takes in the ballpark and the hot dogs,
Right.
and then you get a combined score. What Well, I guess 2 questions: best park, worst dog, and conversely, worst park, best dog.
Oh wow, I'd have to think on that one. Best park with the worst dog. PNC's probably close to it.
Really?
Yeah, their hot dog was not. I was not impressed with hot dog other than the bun.
Because I was thinking Wrigley. I love Wrigley Field to death, and that hot dog is just not a thing. Their
Yeah,
food in general.
I might say, I could probably say Dodger Stadium. I love Dodger Stadium. I love mid-century modern architecture, and they really done a great job of keeping up with it. And the Dodger dogs, even though I don't like it, if you ever go to Dodger Stadium, you got to have a Dodger dog.
Yeah.
First of all, it's a pork. It's made out of pork, and it has a funny taste to it. To me, the Dodger fans, I'm sure, love it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think it was a good tasting dog. And they put a foot long hot dog on a regular bun, so it sticks out of both ends. That's the iconic
Exactly.
Dodger dog.
Exactly.
And it got a huge score for the it factor because everybody knows Dodger dogs. And Farmer John makes the Frank, and it just not many places use all pork Franks. The other place I went to, I think with the Memphis Redbirds, they use a pork dog, but and I just the pork blends are okay, but if you have an all pork hot dog, I don't like the taste of it.
Yeah.
I'm an all
Yeah.
beef guy.
And Fenway, I understand you were not a fan of the Wonder Bread bun
No, I do not like that
on a Fenway fan.
at all. It reminds me when I was a kid, I went to a hot dog and had no buns. You just get a piece of Wonder Bread right around your hot dog. It's like, come on, they can do better than that.
So that's got to be up there for best park, worst dog, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's a good
Mhm.
that's a good candidate for it. And the rating system, by the way, I kind of came up with my own, but I had a lot of support from the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, which is actually a real organization. It's part of the American Meat. It's part of the American Meat Institute. And I met with their president too when I was in Washington D.C. where they're at. Went to Ben's Chili Bowl with them. It's
Cool.
So they were very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, roughly around that same time you were in the Southwest, you made a mention on, and I put a note on page 42 because not only is your book informative, but you can use it as a reference guide. But you mentioned that and had a picture of it of a Sonoran hot dog, and that thing just looked phenomenal.
Was it at the ballpark or just in Phoenix itself?
In Phoenix itself, yeah.
Yeah, you got to go out to East Indian School Road in Phoenix. After 7 p.m., this guy's got like a food truck, but he sets up tables and everything.
Yeah.
And it is the absolute most delicious hot dog I think I've ever had. It's an orange dog. They got, I can't explain to you what all is on it, but it's got different sauces and it's got beans on it. It's just, and I don't know where they get those buns from, but they're almost as good as Pittsburgh's.
Hmm.
It's
Okay, that's my spring training
There you go. There you go.
task. I have to take care of that in March.
All right. Yeah.
Hey,
Look, look
hey,
it up.
Robbie,
Page 42. Look it up.
I
Robbie,
used to
let's take a quick break and we'll talk about our sponsor.
Oh, hey.
beer.
Our good friends at Almanac Brewing continue to sponsor this hot mess of a program, and we appreciate it more than they will ever know. Almanac Brewing is one of the finest craft brewers in America. They started as a barrel-aged sour beer producer and have expanded into so many different beers. We all get to enjoy some of their beers and talk about them briefly at this part of the show, the segment I like to call What You Drinking. And I am still drinking the Porch Light Lager. This should surprise nobody. This beer is really rich and flavorful. It's a craft lager, and yet it's still easy to drink and refreshing. So I'm really digging this beer. I wish it was year round, but it's part of their lager series that changes every quarter. So get it while you can. It's delicious. You guys, Marty?
I'm drinking the one beer that Robbie still can't pronounce, but
Yeah, Zapfava. Zapf. Zapfava.
Zap's Pills. Yeah. It looks a nice, clean little beer, but it's got a ton of flavor to it. I mean, they do it. They do a great job at Almanac. That nice, clean color, and he look like something that you would have after a quick watering beer after you just mowed the lawn or something. But it's full of flavor, and they do a great job. So Zap Pills.
Excellent.
I think.
All right, Tom. Next time we promise to ship you beer in advance so you can partake in this.
Now,
One of your episodes, you mentioned like a St. Pauli Pilsner or something like that you had some sort of Pilsner somebody was drinking. It sounded really good.
Oh, there's
Polygon
Almanac has
Pilsner.
plenty of pilsners. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Maybe
Robbie's the expert here. Tonight I'm drinking the Bunny Hill IPA. That's basically the beginner hill IPA for those of you who may not like IPAs. This is a great IPA. You may not even know that you're drinking an IPA. It's that good. Very smooth, not too heavy. I'm on a run with these. I've been drinking these for a couple weeks now. So that is my Almanac beer of the week.
Perfect. Well, thank you to Almanac, and I highly recommend you visit them. Great food, great place. The beers are outstanding, and they'll surprise you with some of the stuff that's only available in the tap room. So stop by if you're in Alameda and tell them you heard about them from the Highlights from Lowlife show, and they may take pity upon you.
Hey, I think JC sent in a note about his favorite beverage of the evening.
I think you're right.
I'm looking forward to trying one.
Oh yeah.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. I got it.
Hey, Robbie, open me first. What you drinking? I'm having an Almanac Porch Light Lager.
Oh,
Some
share the wealth.
ad executive from Madison Avenue obviously said, like a moth to a light, I'm drawn to this beer.
So
Cheers.
Tom, this is not their ad campaign, but these two guys really want it to be.
Well, I'm drinking water, which is the major ingredient in beer.
That's
There you
right.
go.
There you
All
go.
right.
There
That's
you
the
go.
start. That's the start. Okay. Speaking
Well,
of,
thank you.
now, wait a minute. So, since we're on the subject of beer, at the latter part of the book, he does an accounting of the expenses, gas and hotels and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, Tom, but I can't believe there must have been an accounting error. I'm retiring from Merrill Lynch, so I know finance. So how can you go on this extensive trip and only budget $20.09 for beer. Something's wrong here. No, the accounting's all wrong.
I-
No.
Well, I drank very few beers, mainly because after the games, I usually had to get in my car and start driving. There was a game I was at, I think it was the Brewers game, and I had to be in Minneapolis the next morning at a TV studio for the interview. I drove all night, so that was I was usually driving right after games, so I really abstained from having beers. I'd like to go at one if I find somebody to drive me and do a beer tour of all the ballparks. But yeah, that's
I think
Yeah.
he may be onto something. Wait a minute. We can
Yeah.
join him. Wait a minute.
you
Hold
guys
it.
up for a road trip?
Yes, Les,
Oh,
I
of
think
course,
we
of course
got
we are.
something here.
None of us are willing to drive, though.
We'll find a Patsy. We'll find a Patsy.
Well,
All right.
and the follow up on that. He makes a mention in the book. I mean, how does a guy drink beer, go to ballparks, and eat Hollow's hot dogs, and not look like me?
Uh,
He's a runner. There's a mention
Yeah.
the number of times he had. Did you coordinate those 5K runs?
No, I would
with
get
the
to-
ballparks. You mentioned it a half dozen times.
No, I would go to a town and see how much time I had, a city, and I know it was Phoenix one time they had a 5K, and I just showed up, signed up, and ran. But I'd run in other parks just for exercise. But it's always nice to have a little competitive. You run faster, when it's competitive. So if I could find an organized 5K to run, I would. It was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of different ones.
Okay, Marty, that's your next goal in retirement.
No,
You start running.
no. Now like I said, we play baseball, and I want to go back to the rule book and figure out why the first base gets longer and longer every season.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they
I
keep
have-
changing it. So, hey, Rob, we got a lot of questions for Tom. Maybe we should hit in on some of those.
All right. There's one, since we were talking about the minor leagues earlier, I'm going to start off with this one from Double Play.
Hey, Tom, what were the most interesting names for the minor league teams that you ran into in your travels?
Oh, wow. I'd have to think of that one too. And a lot of teams they've changed their names recently. Gee, I don't know. I'd have to go by the mascots. I like the Gigantes mascot, the Giants mascot.
Yes,
Gigantes.
yes,
The Modesto Nuts was kind of cool.
yep.
Um,
Our favorite is the Rocket City Trash Pandas.
right. And they used to be that time they were something else.
Hmm.
I can't remember who they were, but I didn't
The-
make it there, unfortunately.
The Lansing Lug Nuts is
Lansing
another
Lug
one.
Nuts. I've never been there, and I've always wanted. Yeah,
For the
a lot of them
Modesto
cha-
Nuts, do you like the left mascot or the right mascot?
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
I apologize, Tom.
Uh, that's okay. This is a PG-13 show, right? At least.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Up until a few minutes ago, yeah.
Our friend Tiger checks in with a question too.
Tiger Patsy here. Just wondering, what do you pair a hot dog with, a bratwurst with, or is this a lager? Is this an IPA? You tell me what your favorite beer is when you pair it to your stadium hot dogs.
This is an important question. Yeah.
What I like to do if I'm at a ballpark or an area where I could do a hot dog, I like to get the local beer. So if I was say in Pittsburgh, I get an Iron City. If I was in Chicago, I get an old style, maybe a Lone Star beer. If I was in Texas, but one of the local beers. As far as beer types, there's really not a beer I don't like.
I like
I'm not
this
a big-
guy.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of IPAs. I'm a lager guy, and Pilsner becoming second. I could drink like yours, the lower scale IPAs. I'd be okay with that. But we get the really hoppy ones. I can't.
Tom, what about sours?
No,
Do you like sour beer? Fruity
no,
sour beer?
no.
Yeah, okay. All right. Good. We can be friends.
Every time Almanac gives us an allotment of beer, I make sure that Rob gets all the sours and like the pecan nut tasting flavor.
Well, they make it so somebody likes it. They sell it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
somebody's
guess.
drinking that
But
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, we got a whole bunch more of these.
Here's another one, I guess, kind of follows up with what we were talking about.
Is it playing?
That didn't charge an arm and a leg for a dog and a beer.
Beer, no, they're all charged exorbitant amount of money for beer, and that's how you save a lot of money is don't drink it. The dogs, some of the ballparks have family menu at certain stands, and there's smaller hot dogs and smaller drinks, but you can feed your family of four a lot cheaper if you go there. But all the hot dogs were basically the same range. Some of them were depend if you got a normal run of the mill hot dog, they were all in the same range, and it wasn't too bad. If you went to the specialty hot dogs, then you're looking at a lot of money. And beer, it's just if you really want to save money, you go to St. Louis or you go to Pittsburgh where you could take your own food in the ballpark and
Oh,
you don't have to buy any. So you can get a hot dog. Best hot dog I had in St. Louis was outside the ballpark, right there, and you could take them in with you if you want.
Oh, perfect.
That's the only two ballparks I know that do that.
Is
Maybe
that
in
one of
Oakland.
those little carts with
Yeah.
the bacon dogs? Okay, perfect.
yeah.
So yeah, you could take all sorts. You can't take well, like in Pittsburgh, you can't take any alcohol drinks, carbonated drinks, or sports drinks. So basically, it's just water you can take in.
Hmm.
But still, I mean, it cuts back on the cost tremendously.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sure.
And in St. Louis, I'm a veteran, so I don't know if they still do it, but you go to Gate 7 and they'll give veterans free tickets.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Oh, very cool.
Excellent.
Very cool.
I guess they have a set number. I don't know, but I've gone 3 or 4 times and gotten free tickets.
All right. Got another JC here.
JC here. My favorite tube steak at a traditional MLB ballpark is the Sheboygan Bratwurst at Oracle Park in San Francisco. Can't beat it.
About San
JC.
Francisco's ballpark, they have
Mhm.
the best food selection of any of the major league ballparks, I think.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. They have a wide selection of stuff you can eat, and they
And
keep
it's all
adding
good.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you're going for a food experience, San Francisco is the place to go.
But the dogs
Yeah.
come in somewhere in the middle. They're just a regular dog. The Giants dog, I guess
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's for the kids.
I
Let's
think JC's got a rip on a famous hot dog. I think.
yeah, once we just talked about too.
Hot dogs. JC with a not too honorable mention for the Dodger dog. A lot of ballyhoo about nothing, in my humble opinion. Been there, done that. Don't want to go back.
Oh, I would
No.
agree. I'm not a fan of the Dodger dog either. Although I would say that anybody that's going to Dodger Stadium for the first time, get one just so you can say you did it.
Yeah.
Get the
Mhm.
full Dodger experience. But once you've had one, get something else.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, been there, done that. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You could get one and split it among 4 people like the boomstick.
There you
Lower your commitment level. So we've got 2 questions left. I'm going to put the first one, I think, is a question we probably should have covered and we didn't.
Okay.
So from Double Play.
Hey, Tom.
Mhm.
Any idea how many miles you traveled going to all these ballparks, hunting down the best hot dog?
Yes, it's between 19 and 20,000. The only place I didn't drive to was Toronto and the New York stadiums. In Toronto, I parked in Buffalo, took the bus. Uh, that was mainly because I don't travel anywhere unarmed. That so firearms cross international borders is never a good idea. And the other one was in New York. I made a mistake for work once of trying to drive to a job site in Queens. 2 miles and 5 hours later, I was there. So I took the train from way up in Poughkeepsie. That the place in upstate New York along the
Hmm.
Hudson River. I took the train in, and there's one train. There's actually they have a Yankee Express that goes straight to the ballpark. And if you get anywhere in New York, both ballparks have great subway access.
Yeah.
Take it to the main
Yeah.
train station. And just take so getting driving in New York's a no.
Right.
But they have great and one of the things that everybody says how obnoxious and rude the New Yorkers are. And everyone I talk to, they sounded kind of gruff, but they were extremely nice and
Hmm.
very helpful and welcoming. So I think it's because of the way of their delivery and their accent, they sound a little gruff and they get a bad rep. But the people there were actually very nice. So I was surprised.
Hmm. I went to see a game at City Field where the Mets
Mhm.
are, and that's right across where they have the U.S. Open tennis tournament. So I'm on the train with two very different crowds. It's a very unique experience. All the country club people with the baseball fans. Yeah.
I went to the third ever game played at City Field, and two things I remember about it. One, it was of course early April. It's the first time I ever bought a beer that actually got colder after I bought it. And then I keep asking people to look at my head, see if I had any tire prints from the airplanes flying over from the landing gear. Because it's almost like you could touch them. Because I sat way up there. Like, man, they're gonna clip me or something. That's the two things I remember about their ballpark. And they have a pastrami dog there too, and
Ooh,
it's good. It's angioplasty's extra, but it's a good dog.
and again, right up my alley.
So 20,000 miles. Was that the end of that car, or is it still going?
I still have that car.
All right. All right.
Good man.
Excellent.
It's a 2008 RAV4. It's got like 250,000 miles on it. Burns some oil, but other than that, still runs fine.
It's got another
Perfect.
100,000 in it at least.
Oh yeah, maybe another road trip. We'll see.
There you go.
I drive it back and forth between New Mexico and Pittsburgh, so hasn't let me down yet.
Hmm.
So the
It's
last
almost
question, the
50.
last call we have in actually sets up something that Rob mentioned earlier. So I'm going to play this in. It's from JC again.
At minor league facilities, I have to agree with Gail, aka Babette Shanks, that the number one is Shirley's Corn Dog at Tony Zuppo Field in Lodi. A long way to go for the author, but it would be worth it to make a trip to Lodi August 9th through 11th to get one.
Yes, Tom. It's kind of like visiting hell. It's about 110 degrees. But as I told you before, Mrs. Shanks, Gail, she did write in earlier to tell me that we needed to talk about the corn dog, and JC's just reiterating that. Again, people come to the event knowing the corn dogs are there and buying buy the boxes to bring home. Um,
Yeah.
and
That's
Shirley, the creator, she has since passed away, but her granddaughter is continuing the tradition with the recipe. So,
everybody loves a
They've been
good corn
battering
dog.
wieners for 50 years now.
Yeah, like I say, if you don't like corn dogs, that's just damn un-American right there. I've been to the place where they supposedly invented the corn dog, a Cozy Dog, just south of Chicago.
uh-huh.
Their corn dogs are good, but I've had better. But I would like to go and try those because, like I say, who doesn't like a corn dog?
And
Oh,
you had
yeah.
a chance to try the new Sacramento A's dog.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what it's like.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's whatever.
speaking of
It's
the
whatever
thing I got,
The Sacramento Giants are getting right now. So
yeah, the year after I did this, I got to ask him. It was the year they had the big debate: is a hot dog a sandwich? And I must have got asked different radio shows and whatnot. They wanted my opinion: is the hot dog a sandwich? So it was the year of that debate. I don't know what that was, what year that was. 2018, 2019, maybe. Can't remember.
and what was your answer?
My answer is, the definition of a hot dog is basically meat between two pieces of bread. And so I said, technically, it's it would be a sandwich, but just like a jet airliner is a plane and a jet fighter is a plane, but you don't call a jet fighter an airplane, you call it a fighter jet. So
Hmm.
it's in the same realm, but it has its own specific designation and unique personality. So technically, yeah, but I would never say, hey, I want one of those hot dog sandwiches. You say hot dog, I mean,
Yes,
that's what you want. And so that was the answer. Technically, yes, but it's its own category.
This
I
was a
agree.
very wise man. Very
Mm.
wise man.
Yeah.
I like this
If you say hot dog sandwich, you're from another country.
Oh man, yeah.
We were looking at the Montreal Expo's packaging for the hot dogs, and they call them in French they call them smoked wieners, um, and it's some strange French uh, abbreviation. The original hot dog in when it was first served in Montreal amongst the Quebecers, they called it a hot dog. But my friend Danny said people didn't like that because that was an English term, so they created their
Yeah,
own
yeah,
name
right,
for the hot dog.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you run into some. I was in Japan. They had a sports drink called Sweat, and they had another drink called, it's pronounced Calpis, but Calpis. So and we would just kind of look at each other and like, somebody, if somebody needs to fire that marketing team.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, guys, got any other questions for Tom?
I had one final one.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Have you ever revisited a park and changed your score?
Mm, only for stadium, and that would be Tampa Bay and
Oh,
the now damaged Tropicana Field. When I first went there, they have artificial turf. It looked like carpet from a 30-year-old hotel room, and it was really nasty and had a smell to it. And then I went back. I tell you what, next time I went there was they had a hurricane and they closed down. I was on my way to visit my brother in Florida, and he called me and said, "Hey, they're having a game at Tropicana Field today. It's the Astros and the Rangers because they were supposed to play in Houston, and that hurricane had shut it down." So they just decided the day before. It was the afternoon game, and it was $10 to get in. So anywhere you want, the lower level. They had one concession stand open. I mean, you could hear the umpires talking. It was like maybe 600 other people there. It was pretty cool. So you could hear every little thing. But they had refurbished it. They had put down new artificial turf, and they looked like they'd done some maintenance. So I suspect that they'd been thinking they were going to move so long that they deferred a lot of maintenance, and it was showing. Between the first time I visited and the second time, it looks like they did a lot of renovation. So that's the only stadium I've ever upgraded.
And if you went back, you'd probably downgrade it again because it doesn't have a roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Uh,
and again, it just hit my. We're from the Bay. Most of the guys are from the Bay Area. I was. Now I'm in Reno. But whatever. In his section of the book where he talks about Tropicana Field, I'm not going. I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like, "Hey, you people in Oakland, hey, you're finally off the hook. I found someplace worse."
The one saving grace for the stadium at Oakland is if people want to know what it felt like to go to a ball game in the 70s where everybody had those concrete cookie cutter cement ashtrays for stadiums, then you could go there and get a feel for what it was like. But other than that,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's horrible. So, and that particularly after they put in Mount whatever
Mount
that
Davis.
was.
Mount
Mount
Davis.
Davis. Yes.
Yeah.
That didn't help
Yeah.
either.
No, it didn't. So the best score in the book was Baltimore, was the
Yes.
Orioles. And we were there last year. And unfortunately, I didn't get a hot dog, but because we were at Boog's Paul's barbecue.
Oh,
yeah.
Outside. And that was so I know we're getting off the path, but I thought that was phenomenal. So we all loaded up.
Boog was not there, but we got his barbecue. So
Yeah.
In my book, there's a picture of me and him
Right.
standing next to each other. Then that's where you realize how big Boog Pal is.
Oh yeah.
And if you go to if you want to do the same thing, and when you go to PNC, Manny Sanguillan has a barbecue place, and he's there a lot. It's his barbecue place at PNC.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Oh yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. We'll go. We will definitely go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There are probably better hot dogs to have outside the ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you should just try one and split it amongst yourself so you at least taste the bun.
Yeah.
We're gonna call you when we're in town, Tom. So
Hey, I'll be there. I'm always in section 301 because they don't sell tickets to that section, so it's always empty. Unless
All
it's
right.
gonna be a sold out game.
Robbie's in charge of getting our tickets, so maybe that's where we'll end up. 301.
We'll buy out the section.
I'm sorry. This is getting way off base, but I just got a text from Brent Tetlow, one of our fellow lowlifes, who had to look up Kelpis. Is Kelpis. And there's a bottle there.
It's in a bottle. Oh, great. Great.
Oh, I think we hit a new low. Thanks, Tom.
My pleasure. I'm good at dragging people and shows down, so it's my superpower.
All right. Hey, Tom, thank you very much for joining us today. We had a lot of fun.
I'm always
we'll
up
probably
for
have
talking
you
baseball, so and hot dogs.
Okay, we'll probably have you back on the show now that we're doing guests. You know, you're our second guest, and you're in the top 2 so far. This is great.
My pleasure.
And all honesty, thank you for your service. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Had a great time. I had a great time. Pleasure to meet you, and it's a great read. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Folks, we'll be back here next Wednesday night for another episode of Highlights from Lowlifes. Not sure what we're going to do yet, but you'll know as soon as we announce it. 6:00 Pacific time. Thanks again, Tom. Robbie, you got anything or play us out? All right.
Tom, run now.
Yeah.
Run quickly.
That is good beer.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.